Yeah, thanks for everybody for taking the time coming out this afternoon. Uh, I think a lot of us probably are here because we're struggling a little bit with our younger staff. So we're going to talk about managing our Gen Z and any employee for that matter, but especially our younger ones without losing our mind because that's a common complaint. We hear it all the time, and Larry and I have some experience with this as well. So, Larry, maybe do some quick
Yeah.
introduction and then.
So Eric's going to be doing the presentation. He's been in the trade since he's been a kid. We had our business when we were in our 40s, 30s, and 40s, but he's been working in the trades for a long time. And he's going to be going over that. He's had every position except for the CSR. We don't let him answer the phone because that's not his skill set at all.
That's
We learned that
true.
the hard way. We could tell stories about that, but we want to bring you more content. But we successfully built and sold our cleaning and restoration business, like we were saying, in Rancho Cucamonga, California, in Southern California. And Eric also wrote the book with Katie Harris, The Road to Seven Figures, which has been a super big seller on Amazon and getting some rave reviews, which is really nice. Actually, we were the best seller for a little while. And this is Eric speaking on stage. This is at one of the events with AC Lockyer, but we've also, Eric just got off the stage at the experience, and I've been talking to all kinds of people that they were very impressed with how that went. He killed it and helped a lot of people there. And we also host the Blue Collar Nation podcast. I don't know if anybody's listened to it before. We have a good time doing that. And I won't be speaking here like I do on that podcast.
No.
And Eric is the founder of Super Tech University. He's happy. He's like, yep, he's going to be
Well,
quiet,
so
winning.
are you. You're the founder too.
We are the founders of Super Tech University and home service
There you go.
training. So I'm going to let Eric take the floor. Make it happen,
All
Mr.
right.
Sprague. Let's go. These people want to learn cool stuff.
I know. I'll get going. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Well, let's talk about our young staff, right? I and Larry, both of us, struggled with our young staffers for a long time, right? And we blame them for a lot of our problems. They don't want to work hard. Oh, they don't care. The same things that we all say, right? And we had a pity party and we had high turnover and we had all kinds of problems. Oops, sorry. So let me start this with a little bit of story about kind of our journey to learn how to better run our younger staff. Okay. So look, at one point in our career, I dreaded walking into our own building. Like I almost hated going to work at my own company every day. I think Larry probably felt pretty similar to me. So we had messy vans, as you can see in these pictures. These are real vans that we owned, and we obviously weren't doing a good job of setting standards at that time. And we had unhappy clients. We had too many callbacks, which we would have to go and fix all the time. And we had high turnover. People would ghost us and just not show up anymore. And due to all those things, we had a lack of profit because we were putting fires out all day. You can't make money when you're constantly going back and fixing everything. So I'm sure other people can relate to this on some level. I think Larry and I had it in some ways in a bubble really fast because we grew really fast. So it happened to us quickly, which was challenging, right? So as we were going through this difficult period of growth and low output from our team, to be honest. I got so pissed off one day, I just turned around and fired everybody. I called Larry up and I was like, hey, it's you and me back on the truck. I let everybody go. I think at the time that was probably 6 or 8 employees. I was like, it's not worth it. And Larry and I were, basically working to pay them, and we were making less money than we ever had before. We have made a lot of money when we were on the truck. So I'm an impulsive person, and I got upset and let everybody go and just figured it was easier for us to do it ourselves. So the next morning, Larry and I show up, and it's just the two of us in this big building with a whole bunch of vans, and we each get in a van and we go start doing work, right? And it didn't take me very long because we were in our 40s by this point to realize that I was too old for the van. I could be on the van a little, but I couldn't be on the van anymore all day, every day, 12 hours a day. It was basically kicking my butt, right? And so I have that problem now. And I think Larry probably felt roughly the same as me. But I also recognize that I couldn't really work for anybody. Once I had worked for myself for a certain period of time, I just couldn't work for anybody else anymore. So now I'm stuck. I fired everybody. I'm too old for the van, and I'm unemployable because I don't like working for other people, right? So went back to the drawing board, had to rack my brain and go, why do other people have good businesses and I feel like we don't, right? Like it's obviously a me problem, it's an us problem. Why are we failing and other people are able to figure this out? So, tail between my legs, went back, started hiring people again with the idea that I'm going to do this better this time. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make sure that I hire better people who care more, and I need to become a better leader. So we started kind of doing better, right? We started hiring back 6, 8, 10 people, growing again. We never had a business problem getting the business. We had a problem doing the business, right? So we're growing fast again. And as we're doing this, we're growing, and it wasn't perfect. It was better than before I fired everybody, for sure. It was definitely better, but it was not at all perfect. And Larry and I used to take a bike ride as our owners meeting every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon instead of just sitting in the office. We felt calmer out riding a bike, and we could just kind of talk about whatever we needed to work on. And one day we were riding through these neighborhoods and up in the mountains and kind of in the foothills above town, and that's where we tended to do the work. That's where all the high-end houses were. And as we're riding along, Larry's pointing at houses that look like this here, and it says, like, Larry's like, we used to work here. We don't work there anymore. We used to work at that house. We don't work there anymore. See that nice house? We used to work there for years. We don't work there anymore. And I'm like, my heart's sinking, right? I'm just like, here is Larry and I when we were on the van still, getting the Super Service Award from Angie's List back when that was like a big deal. And we got rave reviews, and all of a sudden these clients are disappearing. And it's obviously because of our team, not us, not us doing the work, right? So the next morning, I got everybody out the door. By this point, we probably had, I don't know, 15, 20 employees. And I brought all the office staff in. I'm like, let's listen back to all the callbacks that we've had. Why are we like, I had to try to figure out, like, why are we losing these people? And I know not everybody that has a problem gives us a callback, but our phone system allowed us to listen to all the callbacks. So we sat there and took our lumps and just listened to callback after callback after callback, complaint after complaint after complaint. And I actually took a picture of myself and the office team doing that morning, because I'm like, I want to remember this day. I want this to be the day that I change things around here, right? And this is what we heard basically. Your people were late, and nobody called me to tell me. Your techs never told me when they were leaving. We used to do water damage restoration. A lot of jobs were 3 to 5 days long. So people would like to know at the end of the day that you're leaving and if you're coming back, and if so, when. And they weren't doing that. Your tech has been staring at his phone all day. I actually had a carpet cleaning client complain that our technician was cleaning his carpet with one hand on the carpet wand and the other watching YouTube videos, right? Not a great way to clean carpet, obviously. When will my job be done? Nobody's communicating with me. Nobody's letting me know what's going on. Your people put a pipe wrench on my granite countertop. I didn't appreciate that, right? And they don't know how to communicate with me. I spelled don't wrong. I'm good at home service, not so good at spelling. So, they would not feel like they were getting the information that we're needing. So if you notice on this list, none of this stuff was technical. Nobody said you don't know how to clean a carpet. Nobody said you don't know how to cut drywall. It was all people stuff, soft skills, right? So the problem was my team. They couldn't replicate the results that Larry and I were getting when we were on the truck. And the irony is, our team were better technicians. They were better at doing the work than we were. And yet they're not getting the results that we were getting, right? Why? It was a people skills issue. It was an engagement issue, right? They couldn't get the same results, and I couldn't figure out why. I'm just like, why is it this way? Like they seem like good people. We're hiring decent people, right? But it was a life experience issue. And to take it a step further, to be honest, it was a young male technician issue, right? You look at our world, plumbing, 98.1% male, HVAC, 97% male, carpet cleaning, 91% male, electrical, 97.2% male, restoration, 85% male, right? The people that I was sending out to these homes were young men who didn't have the same skill set when it came to dealing with others that Larry and I had, right? And then I started to think about it and I looked at my own life and Larry could do the same for himself, but I realized I had men in my life from a very young age who were molding me. The gentleman on the left is my late father. He was a stickler for doing things right. It was look people in the eye, firm handshake, yes sir, no ma'am. Even when we went to McDonald's, he would make me put on a sport coat and a tie because we're eating out. I used to hate that, by the way, and I don't wear ties anymore because of it, but that's childhood baggage. We won't get into that. But my dad was trying to teach me this is how you live. I was an athlete. This is Coach Flaherty. Coach Flaherty is one of the winningest coaches in college baseball history. And he was kind of an extension from my father, right? He expected us to have these high standards of how we lived and how we communicated with others and how we acted in the community because he recognized that most of us weren't going to go play professional baseball. We were going to be business people or employees or whatever. So he was trying to make good citizens. And then I didn't have a picture of Dick on the right-hand side, but Dick Chrisman was one of my first bosses when I was a teenager. And that's a pool service. He owned Chrisman Pool Service. I worked there for years as a young person. And, you know, most people, when they think of a pool cleaner, think of a blue pole hanging out the back of a broken down pickup truck, right? Chucking a truck kind of deal. Chrisman Pool just sold to private equity last year. They had about, I think, 55 employees and 75 vans, right? Big, big pool service company. And he grew that in a certain way, and we'll get to that in a second. But my point is that I was fortunate enough to have these three strong men with high expectations in my life. And my team, most of them hadn't had that in their life. And that was the missing ingredient, right? So back to Crispin Pool. I'm 15, 16 years old. We're having a daily huddle every day. He's checking that our uniforms look good. He's checking that our trucks are clean before we leave. He had a leave it better policy for every job. He used to hand us a Ziploc bag for every single job that we went to. And he's like, beyond cleaning the swimming pool, I want you to look around their yard and find something out of place. And I want you to put this in the bag and you bring it to me, right? He's like, if you find a rock that's out of place and on the driveway, pick up that rock and put it in the bag. If there's a leaf on the yard, put it in the bag. I want you to prove to me that you're leaving their home better than you found it beyond what you had to do, right? And then lastly, and the most important, and the thing that's going to be so relevant to what we're going to talk about today is he had us practicing client interaction every single day for a few minutes, right? He understood that he's taking young people like me and having them ring the doorbells of very high-end people oftentimes. He wanted us to be able to make a good impression and communicate with that client so that our company looked awesome, right? So what would he do? He would train us. And I realized as I'm thinking back on my career and Larry and I are having these problems, I'm like, we're not doing what Dick did when I was 15, 16 years old, right? That was the missing ingredient. I wasn't doing that with my team. I had forgotten about it, if you want to know the truth, right? It had been 40, 30 years since then. And what I recognized was Dick spent more time training us on people skills than he did on how to clean swimming pools, right? He knew that he could teach us how to clean a swimming pool pretty quick, but he constantly was working on our people skills, right? And we liked it. I mean, Dick could be rough sometimes, but he was also investing in us every single day, and we knew it. Look, I have friends that I worked with when I'm 58 years old. I have friends that are still there. They're still working there 43 years later, right? That not one or two. I have a whole bunch, right? They stuck around because he was investing in us as people and employees, right? So I'm going to ask a question. You could throw it in the chat if you want. Can this young man, Mike, on the left-hand side, properly, keyword properly, serve this wealthy couple without us training him how to do so? Anybody do that? I don't think the answer is yes. Right? I don't think Mike over here, good kid, rough neighborhood, all the stuff. I can't go have him ring the doorbell for Larry and Jan and expect him to do an awesome, awesome job without me training him first, right? That's exactly what Dick Chrisman was doing for kids like me, right? So let's do a little compare and contrast. Mike's 23, makes 19, 20, 25 bucks an hour, whatever. High school education, didn't love school, didn't know what he wanted to do. When he got out of school, ends up with me because he sees an ad. He's listening to hip hop in his van when he's driving around all day, pays $1,800 a month for rent, probably has 3 roommates to make that work. And he's getting his information from TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, right? Now I'm sending him to Larry and Jan, who are in their mid 60s. They're making $750,000 a year. They both went to Harvard with MBAs. And when you walk in their house, there's classical music playing softly. They got a $4 or $5 million house, and they're getting their information from the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, New York Times, whatever, right? My point is, they are very far apart in life. They are not, Mike and Larry and Jan couldn't be more far apart. But it's my job to get Mike to try to bridge that gap to keep that client happy, right? We all feel that as home service providers. So I'm sure this sounds familiar to you. Real quick, Larry, does anybody have any questions in the chat before we move on? Just or comments before I don't want to get.
They're saying,
Okay.
yeah, no, it's all good. Everybody's saying, yep, yep. I've had those situations, as most people in the trades do. Ray's saying it, Adam's saying it, Jeff saying, yep, he's had those situations, and they're putting the names. One guy's name, well, was Jose. Another guy named another Jeff. Well, there's a lot of Jeffs here today, but they're naming their people because they remember these people that they had that made a big difference in their business. So keep on going, Eric.
Perfect.
You're on a roll.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into the top 3 myths of dealing with young employees, right? Let's get into the younger person part, right? So we've kind of set the stage with kind of how I came up and then how I missed the boat by running. And I say me because I was the ops manager in our company. Larry was the marketer, so it was me that was missing the boat, right? And I had to kind of remember how I came up so I could start fixing it. Well, let's talk about some of the myths because look, I was dealing with younger employees. Look, 15, 20 years ago, I was dealing with 18 to 20-year-old millennials, which at the time was very different than my generation or previous, right? And now we're dealing with Generation X, and there are some similarities, but there's some differences too. So, you know, what we were experiencing then, we're still hearing now is they just don't care about work anymore, right? They don't, nobody wants to work, nobody cares anymore, right? I think that's a myth, to be honest. I think it's us getting them to engage, right? So here's Andy. This is Andy. Andy was he ended up becoming a manager for us. He came to me as a young kind of punk kid from a really rough neighborhood that usually the only reason people know the name of the town is because it's on the show Cops all the time, right? And look, Andy came and he just needed a job, right? He did not come for a career. He didn't come to better himself. Wasn't even thinking in those terms. And I almost fired this kid every day for like 6 months, but I could just tell he had something in him. He was smart. He got it. But the attitude wasn't great. The engagement was low. Like it was not great at the beginning, right? And I used to pull him in and be like, I should fire you today, but I'm not gonna because I see something in you, right? So what we started doing is we started investing a little bit a day. We're going to talk about that before, not just with Andy, but with everybody. And as we started doing that little bit of investment, kind of like Dick Chrisman did with me when we're meeting every morning for a little bit, All of a sudden, you see Andy starting to connect. He's starting to connect to the purpose. He's starting to see what Larry and I are trying to build. He's starting to buy in. And he started buying in so much that I stopped telling him I'm going to fire him every day and that I'm going to promote him, right? Because he was a sharp kid. I was right. My intuition was right. He was super smart. Andy went on at a very young age to become a manager for us. He was making Larry and I a ton of money. And, we were afraid he was burning out. So he was like, we were like, hey, do you want us to send you and your girlfriend to like Hawaii for a week? We want to show some appreciation. We want to, do something nice for you, let you get some rest. And Andy was like, I don't want that. I want to go to Grant Cardone's 10X conference. That's my goal. That's a dream of mine. And I was like, great, I'll get you a ticket. You and your girlfriend can go. He's like, one stipulation. I want to go with you and Larry. I want all of us to go together, right? What was he telling us? He was telling us the same thing that all of our younger team was. They wanted us to invest in them and they wanted a little bit of time. He didn't ask Larry and I for a lot of our time, but he wanted some time. I think no matter if it's going to a 10X conference or just having a daily huddle, younger people will engage in work a lot more if we invest in them a little bit every day, right? Myth number two. Well, if they don't get it by now, they never will. We've all had that employee. It's like, how many times am I going to tell this person this yet again? Right. But what I've learned over the years is that repetition is my secret weapon, right? That I might get tired of repeating myself all of the time. I might get sick of saying or teaching the same lesson again and again. But what I have to recognize is not all of my people learn at the same rate. Not all of my people learn the same way. Not everybody catches on immediately. Look, I've had rock star people that it kind of took them a while to get going. And once they did, they were fine, right? And really, the person who was getting upset about all of this was me because I'm like, I got to teach this again. And then I started thinking about my children. It's like, well, how many times did I tell, one of my kids not to stick the finger in the electric socket, right? Like many. So I'm like, okay, I have to mentor, I have to teach, right? But how we teach matters, right? The attention span of Gen Z, I think the attention span for all of us is a lot lower than it used to be because of technology. But Gen Z grew up with that phone right in their face, right? They're the first true generation that are native to technology. They need things in very quick lessons done over and over and over again, right? To talk how quickly it needs to be to a certain degree. Let's think of the average TikTok. The average TikTok video length is 28 seconds. Does that mean everyone is? No, but that means that they're taking in bite-sized information constantly, scrolling one video to the next, getting a small amount of info again and again and again and again and again, right? Then, oops, sorry, I got ahead of myself. If that's how they take in information, then the information that we give them and the training that we do for them would need to mimic how they're taking in the rest of their information. If we can do it that way, they're going to have a way higher likelihood of being able to get it, right? Like we're saying, like, I'm sick of telling them the same thing over and over, but what if we just did the same thing over and over in very small bites, right? Has a huge difference for them. Myth number three, training them will just make them leave. I hear this all the time. I'm at trade shows meeting people. I'm speaking, I'm meeting people. I'm doing on-site visits. I can't tell you how many contractors I hear like, I ask about training. Oh, I don't really train them anymore. I just the basics because they're going to leave me in 6 months anyway, or 6 weeks or whatever, right? So I'm not even going to bother. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound like a recipe for success to me, right? Um, Matter of fact, why would I want a building full of incompetent people, right? I need to train them. So this is Daniel. Daniel worked for us. He was a mitigation technician. So he would like basically cut wet drywall and put it in bags and take it out to a dump trailer and set up equipment. And that was kind of Daniel's job. Daniel grew up in a pretty tough family environment, and he had had several jobs before he reached us where they never really treated him very well. And Daniel couldn't sit in a class for a day or two and take in information very well, right? He took information in bite-sized chunks better. And we started doing that, having a daily huddle, quick lessons, fast, to the point, right? And all of a sudden, we're seeing Daniel start to thrive where he hadn't in the past. And I remember we got to the point, like he had a reputation around our area that he was like the fastest, best tech going, which he was. And a competitor of ours apparently had offered him quite a raise. So Daniel came into Larry in my office one day, my office, and he was like, "Hey, just so you know, XYZ company offered me $5 an hour more." And I was like, "Ooh, that's a lot, right? I'm already paying you pretty well. I don't think Larry and I can afford $5 an hour more, to be honest." And I was like, "Okay, so you're gonna take it, right?" I mean, that's the reasonable question. And he looked at us like we were crazy, and he was like, "No, I'm not taking it." He's like, "Those guys don't care about me. You guys meet with me and add value to me a little bit every single day. I'm not going anywhere. I was just basically telling you that people are trying to poach us, Rich, right? Why are my competitors trying to poach my people? Because I'm training them, right? They're hoping to pull them away from me because my competitors know these guys are already good, right? Zig Ziglar has a quote: "The only thing worse than training people and having them leave is not training them and having them stay," right? Why do I want to have a company full of people who aren't trained? It's counterintuitive to becoming a success, right? So here's the other portion of that. Generation Z, younger employees, Generation Z, just so we're clear, is 28 years to 13 years old. So basically, every technician that you probably have coming into your company or even office worker is probably somewhere in that age group, right? One of the things that they care about the most is being invested in. So if we don't invest in them, they're out. They're going to move on, right? So, like, it doesn't mean that you have to keep giving them promotions and all that. They just want to see a career path. They just want to see that you have something for them if they do the work. Like, they might never do it, and that's okay. But for us to have something to show them, like, hey, if you do this and this and this, you can reach this level. They like that, right? And here's the other thing: if we don't invest in them, they know that they're going to get another job like in a day, right? It's an employee market out there, especially in the trades. They will have a job so fast it makes our head spin, right? So we have no choice but to invest in them. I'm going to lean on Larry for this for a second. Larry, your nephew, how many jobs has he had this year?
He's had a lot of jobs. He's had at least a dozen jobs in the last year, and he just moved last week. I didn't know. I was like, wow. He was
Oh, he got
selling
another job?
cars.
That's
I
that's
figured the
over?
selling cars was good for him because he takes rejection real well. Because he would lose one job, and 2 days later he'd have another job. It was like
Yeah.
he was working for Amazon. He was a carpenter. He was working for a cleaning company. He's working for a bunch of nuns in a monastery. It was like boom, boom, boom. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
So
yeah, it's a worker's market.
yeah, so the point is Larry's nephew's not good at keeping a job, but he can get a job, right?
Yeah.
So if he can get 13 jobs in a year, so can the people that work for you, right? So we have to be as good home service contractors. We have to be better. We have to be better than everybody else at keeping our people. I can't say this enough. I think if you're running a home service business, one of your key performance indicators should be turnover. How long are people staying in your company? It's a big difference maker, right? All right, I'm going to add one more bonus myth, a bonus myth that you can't afford training. I hear that all the time. Eric, I'd train. I can't afford it. And I always kind of question that. I'm like, well, you're already paying for it, right? And I know this because I didn't used to train, right? And I used to say that I couldn't afford it. But then when I started looking at it, it's like, well, wait a minute. I have all these callbacks. Every callback costs me money. I have clients in these nice neighborhoods who are disappearing that I spent money to get to their front door and then send an estimator out to get them to do work with us. And now they're not using me anymore. That's costing me money. Because I'm losing those people, my ad spend is going up because I need new people to replace those people right? I have slow workers who aren't engaged because I'm not putting enough into them to get them to really buy in and want to do a good job. And then I mentioned turnover earlier. Look, turnover is very highly costly. It is a costly endeavor, right? So if I'll use restoration, it's what I know. I think all the stats for probably every trade are similar, right? It costs 1.6 times their pay to replace a restoration technician, right? Even with one with very little experience, right? So let's say we paid them 25 bucks an hour. They work 40 hours a week. That's 52 grand a year. At 1.6 times that 52 grand, that means it costs me 83,200 per lost tech. So that means I'm losing what? 31,000. It's costing me $31,200 every time I lose a tech. That's a lot of money. And if you do that constantly, you're losing half a dozen techs a year, right? It's 300 grand, right? So my point is that the training is also, and the investment in them is what keeps them around. That needs to be part of the overall plan for us, right? So Larry, real quick, any questions while I grab a quick drink of water for my throat?
So no, a couple people were saying, Rose was saying that she also believed for a long time that when they train, that they leave, and
Yeah.
it bums her out. That's kind of why she came to us. And then Alan put in there that he's not sure about the turnover statistics. So Google it. You can Google what's the turnover in the trades, and
Sure.
there's a number for many trades, and I didn't believe it either. Like 1.6%, that's way too high. But if you Google it, it's going to happen. And Deborah says the time is needed. She was asking about time needed for the team, and she's like, "Yep, the team needs time." So,
Yep. And we'll get into
yeah.
that
If
so that
anybody
we
has another question, put it up there. But otherwise, Eric, keep on going.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about this in a bit, but the time is surprisingly short that we need to do it, actually. We can do it in a very efficient way. But let's take a journey together before what happens if we don't change, right? That's always my question. People are like, well, if you do this, well, what happens if I don't do that, right? Like, what's the ramification is what I always want to know, right? Well, I think the first one is burnout. I mean, if Larry and I hadn't made the decision to start hiring people again and building back up, we inevitably would have burned out, right? And we wouldn't have been able to scale, right? When you have mega chaos because people aren't doing what you need them to do and you're running around putting out fires all day, you can't scale a business because you're on reaction mode, not being proactive, right? So it's impossible to scale chaos, right? Then once you get there, your business is going to stall out and it doesn't grow anymore, right? We get that. Chuck Violan calls it the entrepreneurial stall, right? And what happens then is the people, if it's completely stalled and stalled for a long time, and look, I've had coaching clients in the past that have been stalled at basically a, a window of revenue for 20 years. Well, what happens? The employees are like, we're not going anywhere. So I got to go find a different job. There's no opportunity for me here, right? And then lastly, a competitor figures out how to run younger people. And they figure it out. They put the time in, they put the energy in, they put the training in, and they kick your ass. That's the reality. Like I really believe this. I think attraction and retention of staff in the home service industry will be pretty much the litmus test of how good we are for the next 10 years, right? The companies that figure out how to get people in the building and keep them there, their gap of success is going to widen over everybody else. So don't be the person who doesn't figure it out in your market. Be the person who does figure it out in your market, right? And look, when I started doing this with our company, Larry didn't want to do it at first. He was giving me a hard time about the amount of time and energy I was investing in the team. But what I had recognized is we had already tried it the other ways and it wasn't working as well as we wanted, right? So we had to make a change. Larry, you want to address that?
Yeah, I was in the back of the room. Eric was talking and talking and talking. I'm banging on my watch, going, "This costs a lot of money. We got 15 people in this room, and every
Yeah,
10 minutes you talk, the payroll's going up. So let's get these guys out the door."
yeah. And What I recognized was if I don't do that, they're going to go out and make mistakes or they're going to leave or whatever. And we've spent that money anyway, right? And that bore out to be true over time, right? Here's the thing, guys, give yourself a hall pass. This isn't your fault. Larry and I didn't know this. We learned this the hard way, right? Most of us have been busy doing what we do to try to grow the business. And the people part, for a lot of us, myself included, is the thing that we struggle with the most. But the thing is, it's also the greatest opportunity, right? So we have to recognize that. And here, there's a better way to do it. I mentioned kind of having a system to run younger employees earlier, and there is hope. And Larry's living proof of this. I'm living proof of this. Once we figured out how to do this, everything in our business and our life got better and easier. It doesn't mean there's no problems. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but way better, right? And then imagine if your young workers are excited to come to work, right? They actually care. They want to do a good job. They like their bosses, which is you, and they want to stick around for longer than 6 months or 3 months or a year, right? That's what we're trying to get to. I want to have motivated techs. This is Melvin. Melvin's a great kid. He uh, he spent most of his time in a crawl space down in the mud, sucking up water, right? That was a very common thing for him to do. He's about to go get in that crawl space here. And yet, look at the attitude. You can see it on his face. He likes his job. He likes coming to work. He likes helping people because we're investing in him every single day, right? 5-star reviews. Happy technicians equal 5-star reviews over and over and over, right? We were dominating our area in Yelp because we were getting our people to make our clients happy once we figured it out, right? More upsells. Everybody talks about that. I just want my techs to sell more. Well, you got to invest in them. This is Jason, Alex, and Nick are with Larry at a lunch that they earned because they were the highest sellers in our company that month, right? So we're rewarding them, but we're also training them to help them do this well, right? And then for me, it was always about freedom. I literally wanted to start the business so I'd have more time to ski and bike and do the things that I really care about. And to be honest, for years and years, wasn't doing any of those because I worked all the time. Larry worked all the time. And you know, I wanted to get to the point where I could go skiing. And this is right in my backyard here in Utah, right? I wanted to be able to be home and go skiing and still make money at the same time. Right? That was the goal. So, and I think for most of us, that's way. So, in fact, what if your young team, your Gen Zs, became the best part of your business? Because that's what happened for Larry and I once we started investing in them and figuring out how to do that. We're going to talk about how to do that in a second. But giving them that little bit of time. I mean, for us at first, it was millennials. We now have a completely Gen Z team now, but is giving them some time, investing in them, helping them grow, and let them go be awesome at what they do. Right? It is possible. Is it easy? Well, nothing's easy, but totally doable. Right? So, Larry, this will be the last set of questions before we go. Anybody got any questions?
No, we had a bunch of people come in and they're
No.
giving some comments that this is really good. They came in about 10 minutes ago. So this
All
is
right,
cool.
good.
Does anybody have any questions that came in from what we were just talking about? Taking a break for a second. No, nothing yet. We'll get some more in the next section. So keep it going, Eric.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's talk about a system for running Gen Z or any employee for that matter. But I think it really matters to Gen Z the most because they're the ones that are really looking for that time and that investment, right? This is Chet's Cleaning. They're in Greater Detroit. They're probably about the highest end carpet cleaning company in the nation. What you can't see there is there's about 35 more employees behind this first row. And they play our Super Tech videos every morning about soft skills, and we'll get into what that really looks like later. Why? Because they want to invest in their team. They want to give them a little bit of information every day, and it's also their team building. This is their time to shine. This is their time to be together and form bonds because, look, most technicians, especially, they stick around at a company for their friends, right? They're out in the field all day. They're forming relationships, they're forming bonds. So the stronger the bonds that the team can form, like in a daily huddle like this, much like sports when I was growing up, the longer people will stay. That's the goal, right? How do we do that? Micro learning, right? I talked about attention span, a little bit of learning, just dripping on them, a couple minutes a day. Like the meetings do not need to be long. You do not need to be spending all of your money having long, drawn out meetings. It's more about frequency and getting a little bit of investment from them and into them every single day, right? For us at SuperTech, that's a 3 to 5 minute training video. We'll talk a bit about those in a bit, right? Right. SuperTech, we do 700 plus home service companies globally, right? This is an HVAC company in Africa. They're watching the videos every day, investing in their team so that they can be the best HVAC company in their area, right? It's flattering to see that there's people halfway across the world, using our product. Very cool, right? But what's even cooler is that this owner is investing in his or her team so that those people will stick around for a long time and do a great job, right? So let's talk about the lessons real quick. And look, I am not saying that you can do these by yourself, right? Like you don't have to use us. I'm not saying that. I'm trying to, I mean, look, we'd love it if you use us, right? You can do this on your own as well. It's just being consistent and coming up with the content, right? So for us, for our super tech lessons, and I learned this over years of trial and error, right? We can do it a couple ways. We can do it in person. You can see on the left, there's a meeting. You get the video screen up on the board with my big head giving a lesson, right? And then that's the most ideal way because you're all together and you're forming bonding. It's a bonding moment, right? But look, some of us have multiple locations, some of us work multiple shifts, whatever. You can also do it via Zoom, just like we're doing today. That whoever's the facilitator can share the lesson. You make everybody get on there with their camera on. Crucial point, right? We don't want people like not engaged, so the cameras need to be on. And then we're going to show that lesson and ask questions after. And then look, not the best way, not ideal, but look, sometimes people just need to be able to text or email the video lessons to their team members and they can watch them from their phone. We can do that too. So there's 3 ways to do that lesson. So how do you do it? Well, look, easy. Play the video, right? So we're going to play a video. It's 3 to 5 minutes, very short. And every day is going to be a different topic. We'll get into that in a second, right? Then you're going to ask teams questions about the lesson, right? We can't let them just sit there and not pay attention. They're going to have to be involved. How do I do that? I randomly call on team members for feedback. Right now, they have to be paying attention. They have to be on. Hey, Larry, what do you think about this? Jem, what do you think about this? Right? We're going to be going around the room. All right. I'm going to tie those things to recent jobs. So if there is a lesson about job site behavior and we put a pipe wrench on a granite countertop, I'm not going to weaponize that. That's number 5, right? We're going to have a learning moment. Like, hey, let's talk about why we don't put a pipe wrench on somebody's beautiful granite countertop. How does that make them feel? What could happen wrong, right? Right. And I'm going to make these lessons fun. They're going to be quick, and I'm never going to make it punishment. I'm never going to make these lessons weaponized against anybody, right? They're going to be learning moments. If I can build learning moments with my team, we're going to slowly over time get better and better and better and better and better, right? This is Chris Longo, Longo Restoration and Cleaning in Western Massachusetts. We met Chris at a trade show. He wasn't very interested in our training, to be honest. He told us that, but his son was with him, and his son could see the light, and his son was more of the age of their team. And he was like, Dad, we need this. Like, let's just try it for a little while, right? So they went ahead and bought. Chris committed to a year. And after that year, he told Larry, I can tell you this, the best thing I ever did for my company is to have SuperTech's video training system for my team. He even gave them at the end of the year the opportunity to not do it anymore by a show of hands. And every single person raised their hand and said, no, we want to keep doing it. Why? Because they recognized that Chris and his family were investing in them every single day a little bit, right? And now Chris is hardly ever at work. Every time I talk to him, all he's doing is playing pickleball. So it must be working for him, right? I also believe that young people need a daily rhythm, right? Most of us do well with structure or do better with structure in our lives. So we try to do the training to provide that structure, right? Technicians, look, most of the issues that we have come from the field, not the office. So we're going to have more technician videos than anything else, right? We're going to have a technician video 5 days a week, every single morning, right? It also gives you a reason to get them there on time, right? We're going to start the video at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever it might be. Mondays with the techs, we do personal development because if they're not running their lives well outside of work, excuse me, that's going to bleed into work, right? There's no getting around that. So we want them to be running their lives well. It also shows that we care about them. Excuse me. Tuesdays, job site behavior, right? Why we don't put the granite counter, the pipe wrench on the granite countertop, why we don't walk across their beautifully manicured lawn 50 times to get to the van, how we behave in the home. We want to go through that. That's going to give us those 5-star Google and Yelp reviews. That's what we're looking for, right? Wednesday, DISC model of human behavior. This is a communication tool and it's a self-awareness and understanding tool, right? We're teaching all of the technicians who they are, why they think the way they do, why their coworkers think the way they do, and also how to read a client so that we can give them the service that they want. Usually, this is the thing that they kind of resist the most. And by the end, once they've been doing the system for a while, it's the thing that they value the most because they get to use it not only at work, but everywhere in their life. It helps them communicate. Thursdays, we do sales and service. Look, we understand a lot of technicians don't sell, but we tie the sales and service together because a lot of those skills are the same. So whether they're an install tech or a sales tech, we're going to do it so that they can both benefit from those. And then on Friday, we do a weekly recap and a 5-question quiz, right? Keeps them on their toes, right? Keeps them learning a little bit every single day, a little bit of investment from the company in that person every single day. We also have weekly premium lessons. We have a business development rep. So if you're especially like a restoration contractor where you're visiting plumbers and property managers or even going to chambers of commerce and BNI groups, we have lessons on how to train a business development rep to do the best job possible. We have estimator, which would be like in HVAC. I know we have some HVAC, but that would be your comfort advisors. That would be your in-home salesperson who doesn't do the work anymore. They're full-time in sales. We're doing higher level sales training with them. We have a CSR/receptionist videos every week. Look, I believe that more money is won or lost on the phone in home services than pretty much anywhere else. So we want that person answering the phone to be a rock star. And oftentimes they're a family member or a friend and they just get handed the phone and said, don't miss any calls, right? And then we're losing money. We're increasing our ad spend because we're not good at converting on the phone. And then lastly, a service manager leadership training. Look, a lot of people, myself included, have taken their best technician and just figured, well, you're my best tech, so we're growing, and now I'm going to put you in charge of 5 other techs. You're the new service manager. And I haven't trained them how to lead people. I haven't thought about if they even can do that, if they're wired for that, right? So we came up with a service manager leadership training program that ideally, if you're thinking about moving somebody into that role, they're watching these videos in advance so they have an understanding of what being a service manager really means. And then also for the people who are already your service managers, project managers, whatever, it's a great ongoing refresher to make sure that they're doing what they need to do to make your company look great, right? And then just one note about the CSR videos. This is my wife, Yana. Like many home service CSRs, she was related to me and a school teacher, and we had lost our CSR who wasn't doing a great job. And I basically begged my wife to answer the phones during the summer while I found a new person. And she really didn't want to. And I hear this from home service companies all the time, right? And I was like, just give it a couple weeks, And Yana was a rock star. She was a natural at it right away. And she became our longtime CSR at first and then CSR manager, training the other CSRs. Um, and she does all of our videos for the training of the CSRs. And actually, after Larry and I sold, she didn't want to retire yet. So she went to Power Selling Pros, which is a big CSR training company nationwide for plumbing and HVAC companies. So she left there after a while. And now all she does is these videos, and super helpful for the people answering the phone. So, if you're interested and want to stick around, this is not going to be some big long pitch. I don't believe in those. I'm trying to give you information, and you could do with it what you will. But we have an economy package. I'm not going to talk about that today. We have a standard package. I'm not going to talk about that today either, because I'm going to make it worth your while. We have a premium package, which I'm going to give you an awesome deal on, right? 5 technician videos, that's 1 a day. Weekly CSR training video, weekly service manager, weekly in-home sales, weekly business development rep, and a private member Facebook page where you can go and converse with us and other people in our community, right? I'm also going to throw in a whole bunch of bonuses so that when you leave here, you're just like, I don't want to miss out on these. So I'm gonna go ahead and purchase the videos so I can get the bonuses too, right? I'm not against just giving a bunch of stuff away, because I want people to use our stuff, right? Bonus number 1, look, I do a lot of one-to-one coaching. I've taken many businesses to many multiples of millions over the years. I love to coach. Normal 60-minute coaching call with me is $500. I charge $500 an hour. I will give one of those away for anybody who signs up today, and we can talk about whatever it is in your business that you are having an issue with or want to overcome, or even just how to better implement what we're talking about today. Right. So you're going to get that $500 value. Katie Harris is the co-author of the Road to 7 Figures with me. Katie did all the digital marketing. She's our digital marketer. She owns 2 very large digital marketing companies, but she also owns an HVAC company and a custom cabinetry company. So she's in our world as well. In both Southern California and in Utah, we run quarterly retreats. It's normally $497 per seat. Usually people come in 2s. They bring a spouse, they bring a business partner. So we're going to give away 2 tickets free to sit down with us for 2 days and do a deep dive on your business and do some deep work. We have members in those groups that come back every quarter. They fly in from all over the country. So that's a $994 value. You can use those at whichever retreat fits your schedule the best, and whichever location is best for you too, but you'll definitely get that as well. Bonus number 3, Larry and I run a weekly business owner and manager online mastermind every Thursday night at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. Eastern, right? Where every week we have a different topic. We have a group of people that come and we just work on the business. And you could bring a project manager with you, or you could bring, if you have somebody else in your company that you want to bring in, we obviously allow that. So that's a $3,000 value per year. I've got to throw that in as well. And then a personally signed copy of the book, should you want one. That's worth $25. I mean, I like to think it's worth like thousands, but Larry told me it's worth 25.
No. People are very happy with it. I'll give you a compliment on it. People are
Okay,
really
thanks.
pleased.
So
We
yeah,
sold
you
a
get a
lot of
copy of
them,
the
a couple of thousand of them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's pretty good for home service. Yeah, definitely. Right, real quick recap. So you'll get the premium membership. That's worth $83.64 a year. $500 coaching call, $997 a golden ticket to the retreat for whenever you want to use it. You get the Thursday night class, and then you get a personally signed book, $25. So total retail value is $12,886 should you buy this a la carte right off our website. I just want you to have everything, to be honest. I want more people to use this. I think it helps the technicians. I think it helps the clients, and I think it helps the business owners, to be honest, right? I think everybody's wins, right? So we're going to do all of that, and you get the premium membership locked in. So as long as you stay with us, we're not going to raise the price. So instead of $697 a month, you're going to pay $247 a month for all of that, right? There's no contracts. There's no long-term, anything. We believe that the people that use us, they tend to stay a very long time anyway. We just want you to use it. And if for any reason it's not working for you, all you have to do is tell us that you don't want to do it anymore, right? We're certainly not here to lock anybody into anything you want to do. So you're going to get all of the stuff that I just talked about for just $247 a month. But, I mean, it's cool. We gave the prizes away and all that, but the videos are what is going to help attract new employees, because you can tell them, look, we do all this training for you because we want you to stay. We want you to be happy. And then it's going to feel, they're going to feel invested in it because you're investing in them every single day a little bit, right? So we're only going to sell 2 of these today. The reason being is it takes quite a long time to onboard a whole company. So it takes a lot of back end work on our part to put everybody in. So we're going to sell 2, first come, first serve. If we sell more than 2 and you're still interested, we'll put you on a waiting list. And once we've onboarded those people, then we can talk about getting you on. So all you have to do is use this QR code. If that's a problem, just reach out to Larry and Larry will get you going. If for some reason QR code's not your thing, which I struggle with those things sometimes. But yeah, it's $247 a month. That's all we have. So Larry, we have a couple more minutes, just a couple minutes. Happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Okay. One of the question was, how long is the commitment for? Holly was asking that, and she wants to know, is this 249 for a year, 2 years, 2 months? What's the expectation?
247 per month.
247, yeah.
And it's month to month. So 1 month at a time. As long as you're happy, keep paying it. If for any reason you want to leave, you're done after that month.
Okay, cool. Another question is, how long do you expect to play the meeting in the morning? I think you addressed that, but
yeah, well,
Jeff is asking,
the average
how long do you
meeting
play the
length,
lesson? To play the lesson.
yeah, the average meeting length's about 3.5 to 4 minutes nowadays. It used to be longer, and feedback we got was, can you make it shorter? Can you make it shorter? Can you make it shorter? We found the sweet spots around 3 to 5 minutes. Ideally, I think you play the lesson and then, let's say that's like 4 minutes and then have another 4 to 6 minute conversation. So it's 10 minutes. I don't look, we have to go make money, right? We want to do a quick investment in them and a quick investment in our company. And then we have to go, make that investment pay for itself. So yeah, quick lessons. That's the idea.
Okay, cool. And let me see, Ray in New Jersey is curious. He has 3 techs. Is that enough to start this, or does he need to wait until he has 6 techs?
No, not unless he wants his 3 techs not to be the best that they could be.
Yeah.
Right. And who's to say you could keep the 3 if you don't make some investments? So no, it doesn't matter. Look, we literally have owner operators who are like, well, I don't know this stuff. Like we have people who don't even have employees that use SuperTech every day for themselves because it's giving them information that they didn't know. So, we have owner operators and we have people that have 300 to 400 employees. We have everything in between. So no, I don't think it matters what size. It's more to do with what does it do for your company.
Yeah. No, we had it was somebody signed up the other day with 1 technician, another one I was talking to that's going to sign up later today had 50. We kind of cap it at 50. And it's all of those people can get the lessons. There's no extra charge per person, which is a question that Rick had earlier. He says, is it per person for the 247 or is it per company? And it's per company. Yeah. So think that's it. Everybody's giving a thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great seeing everybody. Alex, thanks for coming. Alan, Rose, Ashley, Deborah, Tom, Adam, Melissa, Rick. It's wonderful seeing everybody. We totally appreciate your time. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're going to send you an email or 2. You probably just got an email about this offer that went to your, Adam signed up. Cool. We had another, and Ray said he signed up too. Wonderful. That's great.